Alrighty, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are across this world. I am Cactus,
And I'm Fufu.
and welcome to the Megabyte podcast. Today, we are going to be discussing a few things, and here we go again. This is interesting. PC versus the console gaming. Those two communities work together now on a lot of games, but beforehand, it was either you had two mainstream ways of playing games. I don't care who you are. If you're when at the beginning of the games from Atari 2600, ColecoVision, all the way up until current console slash PCs, there was only two ways to play these games. Either you're a PC player
Like me.
or a console gamer like me. Now, the interesting thing is you've always been more of a PC player.
See, I've played PC, or
Right.
I played my fair share of consoles. I started out, we had the Sega, we had a
Right.
PlayStation 1, a PlayStation 2, we had the original Xbox, the 360,
Right. Yeah.
but I've always been more drawn to PC.
See,
For
now,
me, it was easier
no.
because I fumble with controllers.
See, I
My
fumble
hands
with
are
a
small.
mouse.
My hands are small. I fumble with controllers,
I-
especially Xbox controllers, because they're huge.
I've never really had an issue with a console controller. I grew up playing, like the original PlayStation. I remember when Mario 64, all these big when it went from 8 bits to the huge jump to 16 bits. Now we have Sega Genesis, you have Sonic the Hedgehog, now you have Mario. Of course, Mario was everywhere. Mario was a stand-up arcade before anything, and
Still huge.
oh, it's huge. Dude, you ask anybody in any part of the world, I guarantee it's me, Mario. They know immediately. Oh, that's Mario. The brothers Luigi.
My 5-year-old knows who Mario is.
See, and there you go. Now, a lot of people in today's generation doesn't know much about Intellivision, ColecoVision, the Atari 800 XL. They don't know nothing about Atari 2600, 5200. You probably don't even know those, do you? No. I'm aging myself really bad here. But see, here's the problem though with PCs versus consoles. You always have there's two main big things. There's the FPS first person shooters that have the frames per second, which is more beefier on your standard computers. I mean, I don't care even if you have kind of a potato, you still will get better frame rates than you will on console. But another thing too was the dreaded thing that a lot of people, even today, the aim assist. Aim assist is like the biggest thing on consoles versus PCs. Now, you are a PC player, so you probably have more experience with that. But for me, not so much.
Aim assist pisses me off. It really does. I'm sorry. If you have to use an aimbot,
right,
or aim assist,
right,
how good can you actually be
to accurately aim better? So what it does is it kind of, say, for example, you're going after that character, Joe Schmo's right there. You're coming across and your aim is just slightly off. What it does is if you image in your mind, there's a little rectangular box that's known as a hit box.
Mm-hmm.
When you use aim assist, it helps you trigger more. It helps the aim more towards that center, that person. Therefore, you're able to shoot that character on there. But for me, sad but true, every console game I played, okay, I've always had the issue with aim assist. It's like I turn it on, but it never turns on. I never see it snap. Like, I've watched so many people play it, like on YouTube videos and stuff like this, where a lot of people play this and it snaps right into place with it. But I've never had that snappiness to it. And I will prove that this week when I play Battlefield 5 with my good friend, the real Kiwi 123, one of my moderators. I will also, we'll play that. I will show you. It doesn't work for me. But there's, like I was saying, though, like Battlefield, Fortnite, of course, they all rely heavily on first person, these FPSs, all aim assist and stuff. And even the big streamers, they still complain on the PCs because that's what most of them play. You know, they're like you. They're PC players who occasionally hop onto a console, Sony or the X series, Xbox, or whatever the case it is, and they still kind of fumble on it, but they do enjoy the aim assist. But I don't know. Have you ever played first person shooters much on the PC?
Not too much on the PC. So
Mm-hmm.
I really can't give like I played Fortnite on the PC.
Right.
I mean I haven't played much of it. I've
Mm-hmm.
played maybe like 2, 3 games at most.
Right.
Most of my first person shooters, other than of course the Far Cry series. I'm
Right.
playing
Right.
through that.
Right.
I've also got Red Dead 2,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
which has a lot of shooting in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It definitely does. And you have players there that excel at shooting and locking on and stuff. But there's mechanics built in the game where there's the dead eye and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
there's really not too much for the aim assist on that because the mechanics already built into the game and stuff. Kind of gives you that haha ooh. I don't know
Yeah.
what target audience they were looking for that. But certainly for those. And not for the smaller aged group people, but more kind of like the late teens, maybe all the way up until adult age, the players that play that because of that advantage. But, a lot of people now, as an example, like Overwatch, okay, major competitive game.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of competitive games that have where they win tournaments that are worth lots of money on the stake. They mostly do it for PCs. Now the question is I think there might be tournaments that have already been done, played, or in the future, where in regards to playing on a console competitions. So imagine this: I have Overwatch both on PC and console. So imagine, if you will, if I'm playing a console game in a tournament, do I have the upper advantage versus the person who's a PC player because I have my good old friend aim assist when I play it? Is that why they don't play it on the consoles versus PC?
Uh, that's a good question. I mean, with console, yeah, you get the aim assist,
Mm-hmm.
but with PC, you get more customization.
Yes. Yes,
With
you do.
like you can set up your mouse the way you want it, your keyboard the way you want it. With the
Right.
controller, you can't really do that.
That is true. And that's a thing too. A lot of people are like, should I buy the new console next gen? Or should I just save up, just spend a little bit more and I can actually get more for the bang for the buck for getting a PC? Now, for me, it was a huge jump because like I said, I've been console my whole life. And the jump to PC was just like huge.
Mm-hmm.
There was a plus and a minuses. The plus is the graphics are just incredible. More so, they're more lush. You can adjust every little thing, contrast, FPSs, V-Syncs. You can do all this stuff. But you can't do that so much on you're more limited on the consoles than you can for
Oh
that.
yeah.
And another thing too is the frame rates. I can get, depending on your refresh monitor speed, 60 hertz, or you could do 144 hertz, 120 hertz, whatever it is. It seems like that's another advantage too, is the faster your PC can register those frames, the more monitor. I feel that you have the advantage instead of the aim assist, you have more of the advantage of the frame ratio.
Oh yeah.
So that
For
see,
sure.
and that kind of makes up for it. And at least I think, as an example, somebody on console, like if I were to play Fortnite right now on Xbox One, not the X series or whatever, I would be stuck in 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if I go and turn around and play it on PC, I think I could push it to 60 or more. At least that's what the little counter will tell me I'm doing. But is the game locked in at 30 frames per second? Because you used to be able to do 60 frames on it, and they took that mechanic out. Why, Fortnite? Why did you do that? I don't understand that. I don't know.
I don't get it either.
you know, people have 100, I mean the monitors today, and people are talking, okay, well the new consoles can go up to 4K, or people are pushing for 4K. But then you think, okay, well that's great. You can watch some videos on YouTube that are, 2100 whatever it is, then you're high def. I mean, like you could see the nostril hairs on a giraffe. Okay.
Exactly.
You can see this stuff, but do we really necessarily need that kind of things? Because right now, as it sits, unless you have a boat full of money, a boatload of money, a 4K TV is not that common in today's world. I don't think it is. We just went through the 2020 pandemic, so people are really constricted, really tight on their money, their
Oh yeah,
budgets.
for sure.
People are coming back now. We're getting out of this rut of this 2020. So we're coming,
Finally.
yes, and we're now coming into the 2021 hump where now people are starting to say, okay, I have money now. I'm starting to work again, et cetera, et cetera. So I can afford the 4K, but I'm going to hold on to it for whatever the reason. But I don't see people doing 4K, or even social media right now can do that, because that takes a lot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of space required for 4K. I mean, I think that's why there isn't that jump yet. In the future,
Hmm.
maybe
Oh
5 years from now,
soon.
yeah, less than 5 years, it'll probably be this humongous jump where people, the next gen after this X series, after this PS5, maybe there's going to be that big hump where people will be able to say, hey, look, I could stream this in 4K, or I could stream this in, ultra HD. Like I said, you could see the
Exactly.
nostril hairs of a giraffe, or whatever the case it is.
Yep.
But it's just, it's, to me, it's just kind of nutsy. But what do you think about lag, though? What do you think about the lag situation, PC versus a console? I've
See, when it comes to that, I've experienced my fair share of lag
Mhm,
on my PC,
right.
but I feel like I get more lag on a console.
Do you think it's not, the console is kind of restricted more, how many ports it has open available for the data? Because you got to remember, a PC has more ports on it. It can hold
Yeah.
more information faster. It can calculate a lot faster. It can calculate, okay, I'm going to do this. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. Boom.
Yeah.
Like that, instant. A console kind of has that bottle cap. It kind of has a throttle situation where you got to look at some factors. Number one, your speed of your internet at your
Hmm.
house.
Oh yeah.
Number two, you got to think, okay, the bandwidth at your house, for the speed of your internet at your house. Is your family members using your bandwidth? Do you have a cell phone? Is everybody at your house using one of these things right now? Is there a tablet connected to it? Is there another person playing video games in the
Hmm.
other room? So you got to count for those factors. That slows you down. Then you got to think, well, maybe it's lag on the server side of the game. Because when I play a lot of games on console, like Battlefield 1, or hell, even Fortnite when I used to play it, they you would always get this kind of lag to it. And
Hmm.
it was either desync or just lag in general from now. And it makes you think, okay, I have good internet. I have good, there's nobody using the bandwidth right now, and my speeds are good. I stream, but it that kind of takes up bandwidth, of course, but I shouldn't be, ping ponging around and bouncing like a rubber band. So I'm thinking, okay, so you had those 3 points. You had the bandwidth at your house, you have potential people at your, the speed of your connection to the port, and then also to the game server itself could be laggy. So there's a disadvantage when you're playing console. Now the PC kind of regulates itself, or tries to. It tries to say, okay, I can't do this. I'm going to go to plan B. Oh, can't do plan B. I'm going to go back to C. Okay, C is
Hmm.
good, but I think I'll go back to A real quick. So it's calculating what it feels is the best way, the best data flow in your computer, because that's what a computer does.
Yeah. And
And
then, of course, it also depends. Are you using Wi-Fi or are you hardwired into your modem?
correct,
That's a big
yes.
factor. Because Wi-Fi, yeah, it's great for a cell phone.
Oh, it's beautiful,
It's great for a cell phone or a
right?
tablet. But if you're trying to run a huge game with really great graphics and
Oh
stuff
yeah,
off of Wi-Fi, you're not gonna get the same out of it if you're gonna as you are if you're gonna use the Ethernet cable. So I
Exactly.
mean that's also a big factor is are you using Wi-Fi or are you using a hardwired
I agree.
um, cord from your console or your PC to your
Right.
modem?
Correct. An Ethernet cord definitely. I always say it's kind of like an umbilical cord to your. It gives life to your PC or your
Mm-hmm.
gaming console
Yep.
because of the fact that your data is straight through the cord, just like a power line, just like with anything in general.
Exactly.
You plug in your TV, boom, it's got full power. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but if you do sit there, and I know a lot of people are restricted to like the modem is in the other room. You're not going to run in a 50-foot Ethernet cable like I do
Yeah.
into your location for your console or your PC or whatever it is. Then you lose what they call packets or data packets. Those data
Mm-hmm.
packets are like cars on the freeway. Imagine that, they're like little cars sporadically thrown or sprinkled on the freeway. And that space, that gap between it is data
Mm-hmm.
loss. Whereas if you're Ethernet connected, if your data is straight and narrow into a wire, aka Ethernet connection, then it's straight, just like rush hour traffic. It's bumper to bumper to bumper, but at least those data
Like
bytes are
four.
all connected and they're all flowing fluidly
Yep.
into where they need to be. Will lag exist in 10 years from now? 5, 10 years? Will there even be such a thing as lag? And I don't care how fast of a connection you have, there's still always, it feels, even to this day, I've known people who have fiber optics. Same thing. They still have some
Mm-hmm.
issues with lag and stuff. But who knows? Who knows?
Yep. Yep.
Now, what do you feel about, well, like, now, as an example, we're talking about aim assist. So, what if you plugged your, say you have an Xbox or
I have a PlayStation 4.
okay. So if you went to the store today, you bought yourself a controller, a Microsoft controller, because that's the only controllers that really work in today, unless you have an Apple computer. But say, for example,
No.
you went over to your Joe Schmo's hardware store, computer store. You bought
Your
yourself,
electronics store,
yeah,
whichever electronics store you have.
you went over there and you're like, okay, I just got me a controller. Now let's do this. Let's plug this bad boy into the PC to give me a little bit of more of advantage. So instead of having the mouse, now you have this. Does this give you that extra edge versus playing with a keyboard and mouse? That's a good question.
I mean, for some people, yes, it could give them that extra advantage. But for
Hmm.
me personally, it probably would be a bit of a disadvantage
Okay.
because I'm not used to the controller.
Hmm.
I'm not used to the Xbox controllers or the Xbox shaped controllers anymore.
Right. Right.
I used to play Xbox, but I've always been more of a Sony console gamer.
Right. Right. And
And
you.
their controllers are a lot more easy for me personally to hold
Mhm.
because they're smaller and more compact.
Right, right. Well, that makes sense. I mean, if these controllers these are quite wide and large. I will admit they're quite big. I have big hands. I have a father cacti's hands almost, but yeah, they're fairly decent size. And I haven't held a PlayStation controller in a long time, but it'd be kind of interesting if somebody could figure out how to connect the PlayStation controller into the PC. I don't think I've never seen anybody do that before. I'm sure there's people who have tried or at least, tried to do that stuff, but again, eh,
I've
Microsoft,
done it.
you have done it.
USB cord, that's all it takes.
Really?
That is all it takes.
So
You
you're
plug your USB cord into your computer.
mm-hmm,
You plug it in like you're charging the cord
mm-hmm.
or like you do with the charging cord into the controller and voila.
Okay, here's a question then.
Some games though it does not work for.
Right.
Like Overcooked.
Oh, yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It
yeah,
just
yeah.
it just kept running in a circle
That's
and it was
funny.
constantly running and I couldn't get it to stay still. My character kept just doing whatever it wanted.
I've
So
always
some games it doesn't work for. Others it might.
Now, see, that's a question too. It's like, okay, there are some games that require, like, I've played games where it says it pretty much wants you to plug in a controller. Like this game was made like on the PC, rather, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It says on there, it says directly, it says that this game, a PC or I'm sorry, a controller is better than the keyboard and mouse. And I looked at it, I'm like, really? I have to plug in a controller just to play this game, which looks killer, but it recommends that I use a controller versus a keyboard and mouse. Now,
And some games do. Like a lot of games will tell you if, your controller is compatible with that game
mm-hmm.
or if you're better off using your mouse and keyboard.
I've always, when I first transitioned to keyboard and mouse, it was a train wreck. It was bad. I'm like, I remember the very first game I tried playing briefly. Well, there's two games, Fortnite, because I wanted to bring more content of Fortnite to my community and because they were calling for it. And then another thing too, what it was Paladins. And it was just a hot mess because I couldn't figure out WASD. And I don't know who chose why of all the keyboard 26 letters of the alphabet plus you have 1 through 0, so you have 10 numbers plus you have a numeric keyboard. Why the hell did we choose ASD? Why is WASD like the major
It's because
keyboard
of
buttons?
if you look at your keyboard
Okay,
and
I'm
you
looking.
if you place your hands on your keyboard,
Okay.
naturally your left hand falls over the W, A, S, and
Hmm.
D.
Okay.
And your thumb falls over the space and your little pinky finger falls over like control and shift.
Right.
So the way I see it is that's just the easiest way to do it rather than, the arrow keys on the other side.
Right. Which are a pain in
Because
the ass because I've tried using those on a few games.
and
Eh,
see, like, you have to have one hand free for the mouse.
right. Right.
So if you're using the mouse and you're trying to use the arrow keys, you're gonna sit awkwardly and it's
Right.
gonna feel unnatural. With the keys being W, A, S, and D, it feels more natural when you're sitting there at your computer and you're not sitting all awkwardly and uncomfortably.
Do you want to hear $1 million idea?
Let's hear it.
What if you're left-handed? Okay, like me, I'm left-handed, but I'm ambidextrous, so I can use both hands. But as far as I can tell, today's market, everything is just right hand for mouse, left hand for the keyboard mouse. What if you were to flip the keyboard? What if you were to flip it to where ASDW is on the right side because your left hand is your dominant hand for the mouse?
So what you're saying is like a left-handed keyboard and mouse.
Why don't we have that? I feel very saddened by this because I'm a
And you
lefty.
you would think, and my dad was a lefty too,
There you go.
and you would think, with like musicians, we have the left-handed guitars,
Yeah.
and they have the instruments that are for the left-handed people.
Exactly. Yep.
Why wouldn't they have that for PC?
Sir Paul McCartney, left-handed bass. He always plays. Exactly. I mean, they might be out there. There might be some on like, Amazon or somewhere out there in the space of technology, but you don't see it on the market much, which is really fascinating because I just had that idea. I'm like, you know what? We can make.
I mean,
Let's start marketing this. We'll put a little bunny and then we'll put a cacti on it, like a stamp of seal of approval, and we can make a boatload of money doing this. This is our secret, though. Nobody's going to hear this, right?
yeah, nobody tell.
Nobody tell our $1 million
Everybody,
out. Shh. Yeah, indeed.
it's a secret.
Our $1 million idea, but I'm thinking that would be the really good next thing, like, or there's people like what if now this touches the base where people think that there's foot pedals for people who are hacking. Now I won't go into details. There are some a console player or a piece. I guess he's a PC player, but he uses a controller. Has been considered as hacking on games now. That's kind of a thing now, I guess. But the people are apparently saying he's using a pedal to turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, which is an idea. But I wouldn't use the pedal for a hack. I would for a life hack maybe, but for a hack in general. But I'm saying, wouldn't it be nice, like say for example, if you wanted to aim, like okay, if you wanted to aim precision, you're gonna aim down sight ADS. Okay,
Hmm.
you're gonna ADS, and if you're ADSing, but you just want to get that nice like slow scope in like clarity, what if you use your foot pedal like a gas pedal, but it's just the more you squeeze it down the more sensitive it is, the more it zooms in, and you have more control, so that way you have your hands free now, not only for your mouse but also or for mouse and keyboard, but also too for video game in general. If you're playing on the console, you could do that. That'd be kind of interesting, right? There's another $1 million idea. I don't
I
know.
mean, I could see that, but like, uh,
It's kind of, yeah, it's not for
it's one of
everybody.
those. It's one of those hit or miss things.
Right. Yeah. I can understand that. But it'd be a kind of an interesting thing, like if you were to develop something like that. But again, when I went back to the keyboard and mouse, I think they definitely need more left-handed keys.
They
They
really do.
do. Because there's a lot of people who are lefties. There's a lot of people who probably struggle right now. They have to shift their keyboard all the way over to the right just to sit there and justify where the keyboard is, because like you just mentioned beautifully, your hand automatically defaults when it hits on a keyboard. Your hand, your thumb is right on the space bar, pinky's in the shift, your hands are right there next to WASD. I'm still trying to
And
figure,
it's comfortable.
why
But
not like
I
RTH or G or something like that. It always
that's
end up
not
as,
natural.
it's not natural. See that, and
I
that's the
mean,
thing.
when I sit at my computer and my hands are on my keyboard,
Uh-huh.
my left hand, WASD,
Uh-huh.
thumb is on the space, pinky's on the shift.
Hmm.
My right hand, if it's on the keyboard, it's on the number pad. And if it's
Really?
not, then it's on the mouse.
It's interesting. See, I've never really used the numeric keyboard before, only just for like calculating. Like if I were to figure out, if I had to calculate something or whatever it is, but
Hmm.
I've tried using that before. I've tried using the numeric keyboard for things just to see, because there's, if you look carefully, there's a left to right, up and down. So when I first started playing on the mouse, I thought, okay, or on keyboard and mouse, I thought this would be cool. I could use my left hand for the mouse. I could use that for the up and down stuff like WASD. No bueno. It didn't work. I'm like, well, crap. I didn't feel like I would have to key bind everything either. I didn't like that. I didn't like I would have to, if I were to do, like if I were to play the keyboard and mouse with my left hand, I'd feel just as comfortable as I would my right hand.
Hmm.
But again, there's not very many left-handed keyboards out there, you know. But who knows? Maybe in the future, somebody listening will decide to steal my $1 million idea and say, "Ha ha ha! Thank you." No, no,
Make
just
make sure to cut us in. It's our
ex-
idea.
exactly. But see, but it goes back again, though. Is there do better frames too when we're getting back to the PC versus the console? I mean, does it seriously feel like if I'm doing 120 frames, I'm seeing my reaction times faster? Okay. If a game like say Fortnite is 30 frames a second, I'm doing 120 frames, I'm doing four
Hmm.
times as fast information
Hmm.
than a person who's on console is. So if I'm playing PC versus a console player, do I have the upper advantage because I'm receiving the data four times faster? Is that a thing?
I mean, I think it depends on the gaming server as well,
Right.
like the game server, because if Fortnite caps out at a certain rate,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that 120 FPS is going to matter much if the game itself is capped. Your computer can tell you it's running that. but is the game also letting its servers run that? So I don't know if that would
Ah,
be an advantage for a PC versus console
yes, I see what you're
because
saying.
it depends on the game itself.
And that's true too. And a lot of people, they will claim that they're getting, the frame rate. I've watched some like big streamers, like they run 120, 144. They're pumping out the frame rates.
Hmm.
And when they play people who are like Fortnite as an example, because that's usually 30 frames, it seems like they are already receiving the data. They see the character already, and they're already firing at them by the time the person who's on the console reacts to those decisions or shots and stuff like that. It seems like they're slower. Now, maybe it's just the individual person, reflexes and stuff like that. I get that. But is it really an advantage though for having that many frame rates versus having say 30? And although as you said it's capped, most likely it's capped at 30 frames, but is it just an illusion? Is it just like, oh, it makes you think you're going faster, in reality you're still doing 30 frames, but does that make
I
sense?
I think maybe it makes you feel like you're going faster, and that therefore your reaction time is faster,
Mhm. Mhm.
and you're more like focused,
Right.
and you're like, I'm going faster than them, so your body is telling you, hey, you need to react faster. You
Right.
need to aim quicker. You need to pull that trigger quicker. You
Right.
need to do this or run and hide or do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think it's more your body telling you, hey, be quick, as where it's not like the actual frames.
So basically, it's just yeah. So it's kind of an illusion then, in a
Hmm.
sense. It makes you feel like you're going faster because your screen refreshes at a faster rate.
Exactly.
See, that's the thing too. I've noticed that. Like for me, when I play, I'm in 60 hertz land. Okay, my
Oh
my
yeah.
my monitors are at 60 hertz, so I don't really have the thing. Now, if I were to play a game that is capless, as an example, Ranch Simulator, and just like a lot of games, like I think Overwatch does too, where you can have unlimited frames. Now, does it really give you the upper advantage versus, say, if you lock in or VSync, vertical sync, the game to match your refresh rate? For me, I think I just do it for my viewers because
Hmm.
I'm at 60 frames because Twitch just allows 60 frames, give or take. That's like the maximum you can do, and at least in the third the program that I use to upload my video, my information.
Hmm.
But in 60 hertz, so I kind of lock it in at 60 hertz, but I can do way more than that because in my console or my PC can do 200 plus frames. Like on
Yeah.
Overwatch, I could do 200 frames, no problem.
Hmm.
So again, is it just like a pacifier? Is it just the pacify the person in reality? Because people at home will watch a game because you can tell the big difference between 30 frames and 60 frames. It's like night and day.
Oh yeah.
30 frames a second versus 60 frames is because I, for 4.5 years of streaming, I streamed in 30 frames. So I know it's kind of poopsy. But
Yeah.
60 frames is like a whole nother ball game. But then you were talking 120 frames, 144 frames, and stuff like this. Now you're talking, it looks super fast, but in reality, is it really that fast? Because is it just the illusion at home as the viewer watching this and it's still in 60 frames, or is it indeed really at 144 frames? Can Twitch handle 144 frames, 120 frames a second? I don't think it can.
I don't
I
know.
think
I,
we're
I
kind of
highly
locked
doubt
in.
it.
We're locked in at the, and that's the thing too. Do PC gamers have that advantage because of that versus the consoles? And some games now are 60 frames. They're coming up soon where they're eventually saying that the console, the next gen, these X series games and PS5, I'm sorry, X series Xboxes and PS5s are almost like a computer. Are they really though? Are they
I mean,
really?
you just gotta wait and see, I guess.
And people are like, well, should I get, like I said, should I get the Xbox, the new gen, spend $500-$600? I see lots of people waiting, and a lot of people on Twitter, in fact, are mentioning that they can't buy a PlayStation from, Best Buy or whatever it is, on sites, on websites and stuff, and they can't do it because as soon as it went on the market, immediately it was bought up by bot.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're charging 2-3 times the amount of the market value of it. But
Oh yeah.
in reality, for me, now that I have jumped over to the PC world, we're playing on PC more than I am kind of dialing it back from the Xbox, because you were originally a PC player and I'm always originally the Xbox or console player. I find the advantages more. I could see some of the advantages, disadvantages playing the PC. The advantage again, the colors, you can change all this stuff. And so I think they kind of have an uptick versus the consoles in regards to who has the raw deal versus who has the good deals. I think because controller or the PCs are just more going to be more dominant, the beast in the market than
Especially when it comes to like key binding. That to me is a huge thing.
right.
I love being able to pick and choose what keys do what,
See, yeah, I like
especially
that.
for games.
I could totally see that. And a lot of consoles now too. Like if you start watching or start playing games that are on consoles, like these newer ones that are popping out, Warzone, and yeah, I'm sure Battlefield 6 will have it as well too. But a lot of these games now they have it where they're starting to say, okay, I could bind this key to this. I could
Hmm.
bind this to this. But you won't get the advantage like you do on a PC because of the fact that the PC has more key bindings available than it does for the consoles.
Yeah. I mean, granted, some like controllers,
Mm-hmm.
like Xbox's Elite controller,
Right.
you can choose what the buttons on the back do.
The scuffs and all that stuff too.
Yes,
See that what is about those controllers that make them so much freaking better? I mean, I've
I
handled many of controllers and they all do the same thing. They
yeah,
eventually
exactly.
break. I'm sitting here constantly stomping the A button like run, run, and it's
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't
And
know.
that's another thing I love about my keyboard.
Right.
I don't have to worry about pounding on a button to get it to work.
I've I mean, within the last 2 years, I could probably count on a hand and a half of how many controllers I've had to buy. And there's a lot of games that are stompy, where
Hmm.
you're pushing and stomping that button. And I know people at home can relate to it. There's one called Red Dead Redemption 2. Love the game. Absolutely one of my top wheelhouse games. I love playing. It's very nice. But man, when you're making that horse run, okay,
Oh God, yes.
you're pushing this A button. I think it's just and pushing up. My controllers start to drift. So that's kind of a disadvantage for console versus a PC. You know, which because I haven't yet to, knock on wood, I've yet to go through a mouse. I have keyboards. Yeah, they go away after a while because you're constantly pushing WASD spacebar
Yes,
shift.
but with the keyboard, depending on which keyboard you get, there is keyboards that you can change the buttons,
That is true. I
and
could.
that will change your little stick thing that actually pushes down
Mhm.
on the inside. So, like my keyboard, I've got a Razer keyboard, and I
Okay.
love it. I can pop my keys off,
Mm-hmm.
and I can change the keycaps. And if I have like I was saying just the other day, I feel like my shift key is starting to not want to stay held down when we were last time we played Lunch Lady. And if I need to, I can just go to Razer to their website or even go on Amazon and find cheap keycaps,
Right.
and I can just pop that off and change it and it'll be perfectly fine.
See, I knew that you can take out the keys. I've never attempted it. I had to.
It's a pain,
I do
but
recall that I did have to, underneath my controller or underneath the keys, I had spilled coffee. Now this is a bad thing. Luckily, it didn't do anything horrific to my computer. My
yeah.
laptop. One day I was sitting there drinking coffee, and then all of a sudden it spilt on the keyboard. Well, if you know a laptop, the laptop obviously is the built-in keys, unless you get an external keyboard, a
Yeah.
USB one, and it spilt all over it. And I'm like, oh crap. Now what am I going to do? Because now I tried typing and nothing happened. And it freaked me out. So I literally had to look and figure out, okay, what can I do to resolve this? Do I have to buy a new computer? No, I didn't have to do that. I could literally just go out to, well, I had to order it online, but there was, because they didn't have it at the local PC place that I go to, but you could take it out. There's that like little rubber part underneath it where the little circles are that, where the keyboards press those little
Hmm.
sensors.
The
Had to
little rubber mat.
yes, I had to remove that and put it on, and then, take it out and replace it. The ribbon, had to change the ribbon and put it. It was a pain in the ass, but
That's because laptops are a pain to take apart
mhm,
and take pieces to switch. And I've messed with my fair share of laptops.
mhm,
I mean, I went to school years ago for I was going to take computers as my trade, and I went through that class. Didn't graduate from there, but I went through that class and I learned a lot. And that's where I took apart tower PCs, I've taken apart laptops,
mhm.
tablets. It's laptops are by far the most annoying thing to try and take apart,
Yeah, yeah.
to clean them, to switch parts out, replace parts, to if you something's wrong with your laptop
Mhm.
keyboard, they are by far the most annoying things to work on.
See, I could agree with you because the thermal, the heat, the thermal coil thing in it is a lot different than it is on a tower
Oh yeah.
computer. I've since I've had both. I've had a PC that was a laptop, and I now have a console, or I'm sorry, a towered. I find that the tower is a lot easier, you know, for me to clean, number one, number two, to tidy it up with, to zip tie the cords so they're out of the
Hmm.
way. If I need to on the fly, I can pop out this. If something goes wrong, I can pop in just like that. It's really easy.
It's so easy to change things on a tower, especially like the towers that you see today.
Yes.
Because a lot of them, like I know mine has a tempered glass side door.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yep.
have to take any screws out like
Yep.
I used to back when I was in school for it.
Mm-hmm.
All I got to do is pop it open, swing the door open, and there's all my components right there.
It's like they want you to build more so. I mean,
They
you
want you to build and upgrade
mm-hmm.
and have fun with it.
Exactly, because they know that, you're investing. If I'm investing $1,000 plus into this
Oh
thing,
yeah,
I should be able to fully take advantage of. If I have a part that goes wrong, I should be able to replace it myself.
like Geek Squad or something.
I shouldn't have to, yeah, take it out to a third party and have them define, diagnose it, which I knew what was wrong, but still they have to diagnose it. And
And that
then,
costs more money.
for them just to look at it, well, that's $80.
Hmm.
Okay.
I knew what was wrong with it, but
See,
take my money.
exactly. And I always feel that if you had a laptop, it'd be a hell of a lot harder for them to, like the Geek Squad, to actually
Hmm.
open it up, check it out. Cause I was going to do that with my old laptop,
Hmm.
which again wasn't a gaming PC because it was just a standard, regular, horrifically integrated graphics card. I mean, it was just, as much as run as I got from it, It was amazing, but it was just like it was impossible to get anything fixed on it. So it's basically a throwaway.
Yeah,
Today's computers, they're not throwaways. They're more like they want you to open it up, snazz it out, put some RGB in it. Cause I think you have a lot of RGB on yours,
I
don't you?
do. My three of my fans are RGB,
Mm-hmm.
and the front of the tower where it's got the little logo
Mm-hmm.
and along the front side of it is all RGB,
Mm-hmm.
which I can always turn it off. I like the RGB. I've got
Right.
it going rainbow colors. I
See,
mean, why not use the RGB if you have it?
exactly. And a lot of the PCs today, they have that. You could put it on the RAM can have it. I mean, the
The RAM
fans.
can have it. My fans came like that, and
Mhm.
I enjoy it. But you can get your RAM RGB. You can get I believe they have like SSD cards
Mhm.
that have RGB.
Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
They have a lot of RGB for computers.
It blows my mind that people. I mean, if I do have mine's at a steady kind of a dark blue. I
Hmm.
have two huge fans in the front. I have a Cool Master Pro cooler tower, and it
Hmm.
has, as you said, it has that nice glass on the side of it. So it's easier for me. I could just take a penny and just unscrew like a couple screws and a big screw there and just pop out the glass, and that's it. I can get right into the guts of my computer. But a
See,
lot of
my
these.
computer, I don't even have to do that. It's just pop it open.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I
It's like magnetic, but
but
I
see,
don't think it's magnets.
and that's the thing too. Versus a console, you can't customize the consoles. I mean, you can to a degree. You could put stickers on
I
it.
was about to say you can do
You
stickers.
could do anime stickers. You could put a Pikachu on it. You can do all that stuff.
Some big
Pizza.
plushies around it.
Yeah, you could do all that stuff. Your favorite NHL series. Whatever it is. But you on a PC though, there's a big difference when it comes to that. A lot of people they customize it from. It's almost like buying a dog. They always say the dog looks a lot like the owner. So they build it specifically just for what they feel that it's going to look good. So it's
Hmm.
individual taste. Now, if I had the room, I might, because I don't really put too much on the RGBs on my computer. I don't turn them on much. I can make it strobe and flash and pretty much do anything, what they do today, but now nobody really sees it. So it's kind of a waste for me to do that. If I had it in the background, if it was part of my visuals in the background props,
Oh
if you
yeah,
will, I could understand that. That would be totally
yeah.
logic. I don't have my room darkened in, low colors and stuff like that to have showcase it, nor do I have a cooler or refrigerator in the back of my area. I don't. I have the stars behind me, which is absolutely gorgeous. But see, that's the thing about those though. You can with a console, you can't really do so much for it. But on
I mean,
a on a
with the console, they do have little like skin packs you can buy for them.
I know they do for the controllers, but I've never seen one for the consoles. I know
I
if
have seen them for consoles, like
mhm,
especially for like those like limited edition ones that come out with the game. They have
mhm.
like I had one. It was a Halo edition Xbox
Right, right.
360 or one or somewhere in there, and it was a different color. And then they had it was like blue,
Mhm.
and the controllers were different.
I've seen like Minecraft, like example. There was I don't know if it was direct from Minecraft or if it was just from Xbox or whatever it was, but they would have limited edition consoles that were souped up, like Star Wars at the time when it was just when they
Oh
were
yeah.
pushing, that Star Wars Battlefront, I think it was called or
Mm-hmm.
something. They were pushing it hard.
Battlefront 2.
They were pushing it to the point where they had like a Darth Vader skin. They had the Stormtroopers skin, which was incredibly crazy. Like, holy hell, this is. But you're paying for that premium though too. You got to remember, if you bought that at, say, name your favorite place, yeah, you would definitely would have to pay extra for that. But if they did it for
Mhm.
giveaways and stuff, but does it? I mean, aesthetically, that's cool and stuff, but I don't know. I would feel if I got something that was like that, like if it was a limited edition, I would probably kind of save it, kind of keep it in its box and stuff, because
You know it's going to be worth money eventually.
there's games today, like, you may or may never heard of it because you're a little bit younger than me. Atari 2600s, okay, which was one of the very first. I think it was from like 1979 or something, or 80, around that time frame, before me. But I remember there's a game. It was called E.T.
Oh God,
Extraterrestrial.
I know about ET on the Atari.
Now this game, okay, was the epitome of trash, for what they say. Not my personal opinion, but other people in the world globally. It was a unanimous decision to say this was the worst game that ever created, that came out for those early 8-bit gen games,
Hmm.
systems. Now, I think I have seen somebody play it before, and I've watched video of it, and it looks rough. But my point is there was a time where it was a unanimous decision that they said, okay, let's grab like a ton of these games, these cartridges, dig out a hole in the middle of somewhere,
In the middle of the desert,
and throw these things into it
chuck them
and
away.
bury it up. Right. But see, here's the thing. Now, if you have one of those games today, they're worth a lot of money, which
It
is
looks like we're going to the desert.
I am with you 100%. Let's go.
Let's go dig up
Absolutely.
some ET.
They say if you have one of those now, they're worth some good money. And I remember when I got wind of that, I immediately started going around to these local shops that are like small PC shops, not your big box stores, but the mom and pops kind of stores.
Yeah.
And they have like video games and board games and D&D stuff and all this stuff. And they have those rural, like, unique games that you don't see today. Frogger. They had the Super Mario Brothers, where they have a little POW, they could punch it.
Hmm.
Ice Climber, which I think was for the Nintendo. So they had these very rare gems, and I was looking for that ET, and I was looking for him, like, man, I gotta find this, because if I could sit there and just say, even though I have imaginary family members that are younger than me, I'd be like, oh, they wanted it and they wanted to play, I would actually take it for myself and be like, ooh, it'd be like worth some money, man.
Mm.
That It was crazy. I think some of them were selling for like $300-400 just for this little game that was, I think, what was it, like $7.99?
Cartridge, like
Yeah,
cartridge like this.
yeah, a little cartridge that was kind of, you would stick it in and it would turn on. And if
Kind
you
of
ever,
like the Nintendos back in the day.
I will give you a perfect example, and it's kind of like a little hidden Easter egg in Ranch Simulator. If you go into we don't have it anymore, the Retro House Ranch, the house, in the living room where the TV was, there was a Atari 2600 on the ground, which is crazy. I'm like, wow, that is absolutely crazy. So it's like a little mini Easter egg for them. But if you can find some, let me know, because I would love to have one of those.
Your guess would be as good as mine on where you could find them.
Now, if I plug that into a PC, if I somehow emulated it, would I have the advantage? would
I think that's pushing it a little too far there.
I have some advantage of that? I
I
don't know.
highly doubt it.
In today's world, though, in PC, you got more and more games now that are multi-platform. Like, just recently, Overwatch, I believe it was, is now you can play, consoles can play with the PC players. Sea of Thieves, you could do that already. I think I don't know about Red Dead Redemption. I don't know if you can do that on there, but it's cross-platform a lot, and I think that's the future too, as more and more this huge gap between PC players and console players gets narrower and narrower to where now people can have, is there going to be an advantage to any of those consoles or PC players? Is it going to be equal? Are we going to have equalization when it comes to that? It lines up like the moons and the planets and stuff. Are they going to have the advantage, or is nobody going to have the advantage and everybody's going to be equal? That's something I'd like to see as well. That'd be kind of interesting.
I mean, that would be something we'd have to just like wait and see, kind of thing.
I mean, is it going to be the new future? Is it going to be on this console's gens or going to be the next gen? Is Xbox going to say, okay, I want to do one up over the PC? I'm going to have like low latency to the point where the connection is like that, super fast, super quick, and just as fast as the data connections for a PC. I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to see how that's going to go out. For now, I really do think PC players do have the upper advantage when it comes to data transferring, but I think the console players have the advantage of the aim assist. So that's my thoughts. That's my universal decision. I
agree. I mean, PC definitely has the advantages like on key binding, setting up their stuff the way they want it.
Right.
And of course, console and their aim assist. So it's really a preference.
Yeah.
Would you rather do games on an Xbox, a PlayStation, a Nintendo, whatever console you want, or would you rather have a PC and game that way?
Right. Is PC the big brother of the consoles and looking down at them because they are the beast, they are the goat, if you will, of data, they have the advantage over that. But to see the gap, I think though, is closing. I think the gap it's going to get to that point where it meets in the middle and there's going to be a very thin line where console players will have just the slight edge of aim assist and the PC players will have the edge over the consoles because of the data transfers, the speed in which your brain of your computer registers the data, because that's what it is. Data. The more lag you have, the desyncing, on a PC, because of the data points of it. Is it registering too fast? Is your computer so beefy that the games can't catch up? That's another thought too. Yeah, that'd have to be discussed on another episode here. That's true. All right, we're going to get back. We're going to talk about some slashing and hacking, I guess, right? We're going to talk about some things that you're going to
talk about some new stuff in movies.
That's going to be cool. So we'll be right back, guys, after these messages. I was kind of dreading this one, but because of the fact that when I say I was dreading this one, it's because of the fact that it used to scare the hell out of me when I was a kid growing up. I think if I had a choice between Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and the other guy I can't think of at the moment, I think I would choose...
Are you talking about Michael Myers?
Yes, thank you. I would have to choose Freddie Mercury. Not Freddie Mercury, Freddy Krueger. Freddie Mercury was awesome, but he was not a slasher. But a Freddy Krueger would definitely haunt my dreams. A Nightmare on Elm Street. What about you? What was your horror film that you either liked as a kid, scared as a kid, then grew up, still hated or naysayed?
Well, anyone who knows me knows I'm not a big fan of clowns. The one movie that scared me as a kid that I grew up to be able to watch was the It movies.
Oh.
So, I mean, come on. Killer clown. What's more terrifying?
I would pay $50 if I had a red balloon right now.
Oh, God, no.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, I still, like, certain parts, especially in the new remake of the It movies, which
Oh,
I've seen both.
I haven't
And
seen
I
the
mean,
new one.
they got a really good actor for Pennywise. Let's just say that
Really?
he's really good at making it creepy. It's
I
it's worth a watch.
see. I'm not a. Clowns don't really do much for me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just
I was a kid and
right.
yeah, no.
Well,
Clowns just they freak me out.
so
Like,
okay. I mean, you have choral phobia. I can't think of
yeah.
choral phobia. But what makes them quote unquote freaky? Or I mean, is it the clown makeup? Is it the squeaky shoes? Is it the hey hey
It's
hey kind of a
oh
thing?
god.
Come over here. You know, I mean, what does it
I
do for you?
Whenever I like see a clown, it
Mm-hmm.
just it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
And it's because when I was a kid, my younger sister had to go to the Shriners Hospital
Okay.
for something that
Right.
was really traumatic for our family.
Mm.
And she's been going there since she was 15 months old.
Okay.
They every year when we were kids, they had this festival. Each year it was something different.
Okay.
And the one year that I specifically remember was the year of the carnival, or like, the big top, stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of my parents' friends was the clown that year. And
Oh.
I wasn't I was maybe like 5. So I was Zoe's age. And he come up behind me and I didn't know. My parents didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I knew who the guy was, but I was 5. I didn't know who he was at the moment in time. And
Right.
he scared the daylights out of me. And since then it's just been a fear.
So because of that, the traumatic experience you had as
Yeah.
a child, it grew up into your brain later on as in life, and then becoming an adult, it's still in you. I get that. Okay, I
My
see that.
brain still sends that message.
See,
Scary, bad,
mhm,
stay away,
mhm.
that kind of stuff.
See, now I don't know the backstory because it might have been something similar to my friend Blondie. She absolutely despises clowns. We
Ugh.
were at the state fair a couple of years ago, before 2020, back in 2019, and they have a big top, just like you said. They have the dee 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 dee. They have the beautiful clown music because I love that stuff. The circus music. Just I've written circus music, so I kind of like that darker side of the carnival, if you will, carnival. And there was like 3 or 4 clowns that were just like parading around the gates to the big top, because they were trying to do is to coerce people into going into the big top so they could watch the show, right? That's what they're doing. But it was the Shriners clowns, which even makes it kind of even more freakier because they had those little caps on their heads. So
Yeah, the
and it
little fez cap.
right.
Hmm.
And that started freaking out her. It started freaking out Blondie. And she's looking at these clowns, and here they come. They're starting to walk towards us. And I told her, I said, why don't you give him a little kiss? Yeah. And she starts to freaking the hell out. I mean, her face went whiter than
Your
the
shirt?
Al's shirt. Yes. It was whiter than the bunny. And I looked at her. I'm like, oh, okay. And then she's starting to like do a Tina, like,
Hmm.
which I'm like living on this. I'm like, okay, I gotta play with this. I gotta play with those emotions. I'm like, go ahead, go on, go talk to them. And they
Trying to
get,
like push her over there a little bit. Yeah, I would have freaked out.
and she starts really freaking out because these 2 clowns from that group decided to come really close, and they're like waving at her and shit like this. Now I could tell she's probably waiting to piss herself. But I found it amusing, but then I felt really bad later. I felt guilty. But I told her, I said, why don't you put your arm around it? And the clown heard her. I said, I'll get a photo of you guys. So I took my camera out of my phone and I took this picture. And the look at her face was just incredibly scared, like, I'm gonna freaking kill you later on, Cactus. But at the same time, it has that horrific, like, I'm in pure hell horror right now. Now, I guess it would be in relation to, like, those feelings would be the same way I would feel if somebody said, hey, there's a yellow jacket nest over here in this house. I want you just to go in there,
Oh
inside
no.
there. I would freak the hell out. That is my kryptonite. That is my fear. Are yellow jackets. Clowns, not so much.
Hey Cactus, why don't you go give that yellow jacket a kiss?
Oh, no,
Turn
no,
that shit
no.
around.
No. You could
Exactly.
see, I could see that, and that's what I realized. Then I had some empathy. I knew what she was going through. It was
Hmm.
traumatic. But now
It's horrible.
something like that, like Freddy Krueger was. I have music on my mind. Freddy Krueger did it for me to a point. I watched some of that stuff. It was old school by the time I got to it. But I mean, I was a teenager when I saw these things from the 80s or whatever, and I'm like, this dude, I got the brains and you got the body. It was like, oh my God, this guy looks burnt.
Hmm.
He's disfigured, disformed, which is okay. I could get past that. But man, when you have those claws like Wolverine, okay, and what really pushed me over the edge, because I was grabbing popcorn, I was eating popcorn, I'm like watching this in the dark. Stupid move. You should never watch this in the dark by yourself. I'm sitting there chewing on the
Especially the first
popcorn.
time.
I turned into the kitchen. I remember vividly at the couch. I looked to my left because that's where the fridge was. And then on the movie, on the TV, it's playing the scene where he's taking his claws and he's scraping them across
Oh,
the
I hate that
wall.
noise.
That noise, I violently turned to the TV and I hear this. Now today, that kind of haunts me. That haunts me when I hear that noise and the sparks are flying everywhere when he's doing it and he's just dragging them across because he's hunting, you know, which is really, it freaked me to hell out.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of those sounds that makes your skin crawl.
Halloween was, mm, I mean, Halloween was okay. I could see, the Jason. I could see. I mean, that's some scary stuff too. Don't get me wrong,
I
but
mean, like the original
mhm,
Halloween, like the very first one, when you
right,
don't know what's gonna happen, that was great.
right,
And then you got the sequels and the prequels and the remakes, and it's all the same.
hmm,
Like it doesn't, like the backstory never changes, which
hmm.
I understand that. But I mean, how many movies can you make of a guy in a mask and a mechanic jumpsuit, holding a knife, walking slowly,
Right.
and everyone's screaming? I mean, come on now.
With his big blade, and he's just kind of dragging it behind him or in front of him or whatever the case it is. What always got me though on those was the facial. He has the facial expressions, but he doesn't because he's wearing a mask, so it kind of has that like dull look. Just that dumb. No uh, expressionless face, but his actions, his body actions, his body movements sold it because he'd get like hit in the head with something or whatever the case it is. He would turn his head, like either crack his neck or whatever like that, and then get really aggressive. So it was just those little points. He didn't even have to say anything. I mean, it could be like a mime, wouldn't you think? But I mean, did he ever speak? Jason ever talk? I don't think I've ever heard one word.
I don't think I've heard Jason talk, and I know for a fact I've never heard Michael Myers talk.
Right,
So, I mean, like I said, how many movies can you make of that?
right.
One, they're both in masks. One's a hockey mask, one's a plain um the Michael Myers mask was actually a make off of William Shatner.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
Really?
it was a plain white William Shatner mask.
S- Now
I
that's
mean,
an
how
interesting.
many movies can you make like that?
Well,
Give us
this
something new. Give us something good. Give us something different that we haven't seen already.
isn't this year. Aren't they coming out with a new one? A new Halloween?
They are, and I don't know. It's supposed to be called Halloween Kills, I believe,
I
and it's supposed to
mean,
come out obviously around Halloween time. If it's gonna follow the same pattern as the previous movies, it's
yeah.
gonna come in the end of October.
See, there was one in 2018. Now, see, I stopped watching them because you touched base there, where there it's to the point where you could almost fall asleep to knowing what's going to happen. The
Yeah.
inevitable is going to happen to the characters, not all the characters, but some of the characters. You have the dumb person, you have the bimbo. No offense to anybody, but you're gonna have those kind of people. You're gonna have the smart one, and then you're gonna have one that's just whatever. So you have like 3 to 4 players, the main group of people. You know, one's gonna get axed off, or sorry, sorted off immediately, chopped up, whatever the case it is. Then the other ones are gonna start fighting. They're gonna find the weaknesses. Eventually, they're all gonna cry and scream because they're near misses, and maybe they'll get their one will get chopped or injured, maimed, but they will still, without bleeding out amazingly, will still go throughout the whole movie.
Yep.
And eventually, they do. And the thing is kind of they make them immortal. These like Jason and Freddy and stuff like this. I mean, you think about all the times the all the times that they've done these. Like I've seen them get shot. I've seen them get thrown through major
Electrocuted.
electrocuted. I mean,
I mean, come
you're
on
like,
now.
oh,
They have to at least die sometime. You can't keep it going forever.
right.
I mean, they've done movies.
I mean,
Like one of the Halloween movies didn't even have Michael Myers in it.
have you ever seen some of the first ones of Jason and all them? Have you ever seen like the originals? They were a little cheesy, but at the same time, they kind of had those like they were new in the scene. They were kind of
Mm-hmm.
new in that feel. Like okay, Alfred Hitchcock, of course, was the god of creating angles and horror films and stuff like
Yeah.
this or scenes and stuff. But they one upped it during like the 70s and 80s with the Jasons, and then Freddy Krueger came out. I just won't be able to get that done today. Well, I just keep saying it over and over. But then they have all the new ones. But in reality, I mean, what are they going to have? Okay, here's one. You have the digital. You have the digital killer. He is here. He's got the real long hair in the front and maybe a soda or something, and he's got a controller in his hand. He will digitally
Like
kill
the
you.
main character from the game Hatred.
He plays. He plays a game. Do you want to play a game? But he gets sucked into the game, or something happens, or the controller comes to life, zaps him into the game, or zaps out a character or multiple characters, and he has controlled them, or the world will die, or the world will end, or something like that. I don't
Just
know.
give us something
Give us
new.
something new instead of like freaking, the Jason series had its run. It had its heyday. You don't see many Freddy Krueger coming out. You don't see much of
No,
those
you don't.
Nightmares on Elm Street.
See, I've
I
heard
don't
though that they're talking about doing another one. But
really.
the thing is they're using Bill England, the original Freddy Krueger,
Now, see, that would
which
be
I would,
impressive.
as long as it doesn't follow the exact same thing as the
Hmm.
first or the second or the
Right.
third, as
Right.
long as it does something a little different,
Hmm.
something more, you know, modern.
Now, would I watch it? Because, like I said, that is my kryptonite. I absolutely freaked out with Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger did it for me. Jason, the that series was bad, like horrible. Not horrible as in like, but scary. That's the word I'm
Yeah.
looking for. It's scary. But Freddy Krueger, man, just did it for me. He just, those nails and the way he would pick up people and he had to control people and their veins are
Mhm.
coming out like this and shit. Like, oh my God, that scared the bejesus
Yeah,
out of me.
and the thing is he was only powerful in the dream state
Right.
when you were
Right.
asleep and you
Yes,
had no control over your body. That was something completely and totally different that had not been done.
exactly. And that was
And that's what
interesting.
made Freddy Krueger and the Nightmare on Elm Street series so damn good.
I agree. I agree. And that's what made it, because a lot, there was times, Bunny, that I would lay down and I would fear he would come out at night and get me in my dreams. There was times where of course, watching it in the night, by yourself, probably not a
Is a
good
whole
idea.
different feeling.
Yeah, when you're in your teens, your late teens, whatever, watching this, it's still scary. I don't care how old you are. Or, you go to a movie today, and if you see a horror movie or whatever like that, no matter how old you are, 10 to 50 to 80, you still, people gets jump
Mhm.
scares. But now, like you're saying, like now they have this new one, this new Halloween coming up. Okay. Like if they have that coming up, then is it going to be like the one from 2018? Is it going to be just a rehash? Are we going to go for the same things? Digitally, technology has changed. Way back then, they had to use props. They had to use, there wasn't very many techniques. You would use the
Mhm.
dark rooms. You could do silhouettes. You could do stuff like this where the hide behind the things. Versus today they have digital where you can green screen things out. Hell, they can just run around in a green screen or a blue screen,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, you don't have to really worry about props in the background because all that is just digital. But it's just like, why are they continuing on with this? I mean, a lot of these like kids today, these millennials and next Gen Ys and stuff,
They don't give a damn about them.
they don't know what
They
like
don't know
Jason is,
like
or
exactly. They don't know old school 80s
mm-hmm.
good horror movies.
Right. Instead
Like
of
I
you
mean,
know,
I know we're on like the Halloween movies and
mm-hmm.
the the slasher films, but one that I think that doesn't get enough credit
Uh-huh.
is The Evil Dead.
You really think so?
I mean, you hear about Michael Myers all the time. You hear about Freddy and Jason.
Right.
You hear about them always, all
You
the time.
always do. Yeah. You always hear about them.
When's the last time you heard someone talk about the Evil Dead?
The evil who? that's,
Exactly. I'm
exactly, yeah.
sorry. That movie freaked me the hell out.
You,
That was such a good horror movie.
uh-huh.
It had just the right amount of jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
It had just the right amount of suspense.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a good storyline to it.
See,
That's the stuff that we need to bring back.
we
That's the stuff that
right.
we don't get nowadays.
I agree. And as some has pointed out, it would be interesting, instead of we are in the footsteps of the characters, the main characters of a horror film. So I am that person, the lead character. I'm running around. Here's the villain. Here is the Freddy, or here's the
Mhm.
Jason Voorhees, or whatever.
Exactly.
But what about reverse it? What if you were in the mind of the serial killer himself? What if you were actually in his footsteps? So you get a
From
backstory
a
of
different
why.
point of view.
Yeah, you get the backstory. I know some of those ones like Jason, they give you the backstory a little bit, like how he grew up, or all this
But
stuff.
they don't tell it from the
His,
opposite
yeah,
side.
they don't jump over that fence and say, okay, here's this point. Here's the why this person is the way he is. He had a bad existence in life. Now this is why he wants to do this, or she. What about a female
That would be
serial
great.
killer? or maybe an LGBTQ person as a killer. I mean, it could whatever way.
There's so many different ways you can take horror movies nowadays.
There's so many options you can do. I could totally see you, buddy, doing that.
There's so much more that is accepted in our society now than there was back in the 80s.
Bunny would have like ninja like carrots or something. She would be able to throw them, and her evil
Turn a carrot
ears,
into a ninja star.
her evil ears would hear stuff that no others can hear. But see, that kind of brings up the point too.
That'd be perfect.
But
I could hear you a mile away.
now, would you be an evil bunny, or would you flip over to the supernatural side? Would you be super bunny foo-foo? So in other words, you have unrealistic you have hearing beyond normal hearing, or you're able to hop further than me or any other person out there. You have these extra things. You eat these carrots that bring out this extra power into you. Kind of like, I don't know if you want to talk about like supernatural ones, Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man.
See, when I think supernatural, I think more of, like Insidious.
Okay, I could see that.
Or The Conjuring.
Ooh, oh.
Have you watched the new Conjuring movie?
Oh, no, I haven't seen the new one.
Oh my God.
Maybe I'll make a movie night one time if I can. I'll have
Watch all three of them.
Oh, hell.
Because one, they are all based on true stories.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ed and Lorraine Warren were real people.
Oh, they definitely were. Shit. The amazing people that helped out a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And the way they took these objects out of these people's homes and said, okay, I'm just going to put them in my home. Like, why would you do that? Why in the hell would you take something that is either demonically possessed or just something in general that has killed people, supposedly, just in theory, but maybe, and say, I'm going to put these and showcase these in my house, just like how Zach Bagans, he has his museum. And he has this obsession with it. And it's like, I don't know if I would go that far into it, know.
Ed Warren said it best. They take the artifacts from the houses of these people rather than destroy them and put them locked up in a place that is safer. Because if the item gets destroyed, whatever it is that's attached to that item can move on and attach itself to a different item, like the Annabelle doll.
I was just going to say, that sounds just like ring-a-ding-ding Annabelle. Oh, buddy. But I've always, my thoughts about that is like supernatural, like Chucky, for example. That's another thing.
God, yes.
We'll talk about that in a second, but that kind of brings up this topic is dolls, they say, are vessels. They say that they suck up the spirits, and this is why people think possessed dolls exist, is because of the souls in them, Annabelle, etc., etc. They feel they're cursed. Now, I've had claims when I've done paranormal investigating in the past. I've had people who have had in houses, they literally have a room from floor to ceiling of dolls. And these things, I'm talking 3 foot tall dolls to little dolls that are like the size of a thumb thingy, the size of a thimble. And they're all sitting quietly on the dressers, and they're sitting all quietly on these little display cases and stuff. And there's some that are just sitting on the floor, just piles of them, all sitting like they're watching you like an audience. Now, I don't know why in the hell this lady had this many. I'll tell you what, though, what freaked me the hell out was what she had said. She said that one, and she pointed right to it, which is one of the biggest ones in the room. She says that moves by itself. It has moved from where its position was, which was almost center of the room, because that's how filled of dolls from the center room back wall. This place was filled with dolls, like a movie theater, basically. And that freaked me the hell out. But why you would carry something like that in your house if you know it's kind of quote unquote possessed to the point where it moves like a Chucky doll?
It's a
why
big no-no.
why the hell would you retain this in your house? I can understand if you're cautious and you're very scared to move it because you don't want something to happen to you because Annabelle, you don't want to die from doing this because demonically some do can and will kill you. But I don't know, and it relates to Chucky. Now Chucky's were it got kind of boring once you introduced the bride of Chucky.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I didn't like the Bride of Chucky. I like how they introduce another character into the series, but I didn't really like it because it got really cheesy.
Yeah.
And
It was more, comedy
mhm. Yeah,
with Bride of Chucky
right.
and The Seed of Chucky. Those were more comedy than horror.
I
And when I think of Chucky, I think little demon doll that wants to kill people. I don't think of Chucky, the demon doll that wants to kill people slash family of dolls.
I mean his demeanor with that little blade and stuff like this. It's like again another one who was immortal. Basically, people would throw him into fires, throw him into fireplace, do this. I mean, the only thing they didn't do was literally just like set TNT on him and let him explode. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what his injury sustained was, he still somehow pieced himself back together. Now, like
Mm-hmm.
you were mentioning, the Bride of Chucky, to me, it just got really cheesy. Chucky, she got really. I think that was that transition where they're like, okay, what are we going to do with the series? We've already had this guy, this little doll who's possessed. He's bought by the family. He gets killed, starts killing people. Now, what are we going to do? We have a miniature version of Jason Voorhees
Right.
slash Freddy Krueger. And you got like all these, for like a little 3-foot sized doll that's running around killing.
If that.
Oh, it was crazy. It was like I don't know. To me the first one was I think the best one. Sometimes if you have more than say 2 or 3, then it starts going downhill. It's like
Yep.
okay.
Then it starts getting washed out.
I mean then you have like what was it? Jason versus Freddy
Freddy
or
versus Jason? Yeah. No,
like
that's a no bueno movie.
what
That
the
movie's
hell?
horrible.
Like what is going on with the industry? I mean, when I think horror movies, I want to be sucked into the story. I want to find a nice where's that storyline taking me? Why is this person the way he or she is? Then I want to see the other side of the story.
Yeah.
I want to be the audience, but I want to be on the stage at the same time. That's what I always
Yeah.
say. It's just like watching a relationship between Amy Doe and Jim Doe is you see more things as the audience than they do when they are on the stage. Their stage meaning their lives, those
Hmm.
together. Because if they're boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife, whatever the case it is, they don't see some of the things that you and I as audience participants see. Blinded by love is the terminology for it. But for the Chuckies and stuff, I don't know. It didn't really do it for me. But then it came to the point where you have people who are gifted with supernatural powers. Okay.
Hmm.
Again, slightly different. They were the heroes, the unsung heroes of these crime ridden metropolises. You have obviously Superman, who ironically just came from a whole different Krypton, a whole different planet. It
He's an
was,
alien.
yeah, he's an alien, but he can speak. He looks just like you and I, more
He
muscles.
looks American. He
Yeah, he looks Yeah, he looks your generic
average
American,
American.
right? But then of course he always has the
He
placebo
speaks
was
perfect English.
right, and he even gets a job as a reporter, as working in a news station or whatever it was. But
And I don't mean to cut you off, but that's one thing that always bugged me about the Supermans. How is it they see Superman every single day. That
Uh-huh.
he's out flying around, saving someone, doing this, doing that. How is it that he goes to work for the Daily Planet and all he's got to do is put on a pair of glasses?
Right.
Like, come on, y'all can't be that daft.
His hat and some glasses, dark glasses, and he'd always
He
kind
don't
of
even wear a hat.
he did. I thought he did.
It's
I thought he wore like a
no.
little
He's got a button-up white T-shirt with a tie and dark glasses.
Hi Jane. And like, okay, but
Like,
you just saved her ass like overnight, but she doesn't
yeah,
recognize your
right.
voice.
Hi,
You're
Lois. How are you? How was
uh,
your night? Not that I don't know.
I know what you did last night, but you know, it's like, but see, that's the thing. It's always like it got to the point, and then they had the series where, oh god, I can't think of the name of it. There was a series where he was like, the young Superman came in, he was like 20 something, came down to Earth, but then you have, there's backstory, but there isn't. But again, you look at it like, okay, he could speak fluent English, he looks just like you and I. He works at a place, he falls in love with a lady, or she falls in love with him. So it's your typical scenario. But you got to remember that was written back during what World War II days, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
when he first was developed as a superhero for America. You know, kind of like
Yeah.
Captain America. And now
Mm-hmm.
Captain America, you know, Shield and you know all that stuff, it didn't really do it for me. I'm not into that or the Hulk or I mean,
Yeah, like I get, the Avengers and stuff.
mhm,
I
mhm,
have watched all the Avengers movies.
right.
But, if like we were talking about before the podcast, if they were that well known,
Mhm,
how would they be able to go out in public? I
true.
mean, other than saving the world
Right.
over and over. But like in the movies, you see them go out
Mhm.
and they're out in public and they're not being bombarded.
Fandom. I know. It's kind of interesting how that
I mean,
works.
except for Tony Stark, of course, because Iron Man. But like all of them, when they're all together,
Right.
it makes no sense.
It's like the Power Rangers, same thing. Like the only thing that changes them is a solid color. You know, you
Yeah,
have, you know, Amy this and you know blah blah blah. She you know turns on pink and she's an Avenger or you know it's or the Power Ranger. It's weird, you know. It's like how that's the power of TV or power of magic. The blindness. I guess you could
hmm,
say it's kind of like how we're blinded by things. You know, the
yeah,
power of you transition
vanity.
vanity. Yeah, you can't. I guess that was the only way they could think, okay, how can I get a superhero to naturally fall to the earth or in general be part of the public without being known that he is a, hero. So let's change his clothing. Just change a couple characteristics of him or her,
Hmm.
like Wonder Woman. Huh? Okay. Or the, various different heroes that came out. What was some of the ones that were really floppy? Um, the Green Lantern. A lot of people
I
don't.
don't know much about the Green Lantern, just his
Eh,
name.
Aquaman. Not very many people do know him.
I
Immediately, if
mean,
you,
I know who Aquaman is,
right, he talks to fish.
but I've never watched the movie.
Right?
That sounds more like the thing from Thundercats, but
Oh God, Snarf,
yeah.
Snarf. Oh God. Now
I
see,
just made myself feel really old saying that, so
but see, okay,
that
so
was
the
my
card you had the cartoon transitions too. You get that's a good point. You got to think about that too. They had transitions of so you have your superheroes. Not only do they do franchises of the movies itself,
Mhm.
like real actors played it, Christopher Reeves, etc., etc. But now you have the transition again where now it goes into the let's play the cartoon market of these heroes. I mean, there's to the point where it's you have these villains and stuff. Again, they always constantly get captured by like the Joker. I think Jack Nicholson played one of the best Jokers, and then of course the late, and I forgot his name, the one who did
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Heath
Heath,
Ledger.
not Keith.
Yeah, Heath with
Yes,
it
Heath
like the Heath
with the
bar.
H. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's
Heath
okay.
Ledger was my favorite Joker
See,
by far.
what I found was hilarious was in particular was that one scene, not really hilarious, but truly good acting because I don't know if it was an f up on the special effects department. The part where he's walking away, and I think it's a hospital that's gonna
Yes.
blow up, and he's pushing on it, and it doesn't do anything. He's sitting there, he's like, he's pushing it, and it didn't do anything. And now I don't know if it was supposed to make a boom, or somebody was supposed to yell a boom, and then he reacts to it on the sound set, but whatever it was, and then his reaction to it when he turns around and he looks was priceless to me. It was just how that timing of it was really good. It was improv, it was really good. I like
Yeah.
that. He was really good, and his head sticking out the window, of course.
And see, Heath Ledger himself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, he's always going to be an icon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's always, personally to me, he's one of my favorite actors.
Mm.
And it's a shame that he passed away.
It's a very sad
But like,
shame.
he got so into the role of the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
He was a method actor.
Oh yeah.
When
Oh yeah.
he went home, he made himself insane. He lived the role of the Joker. He didn't, do like 90% of actors. He immersed himself in the Joker's lore,
Mm-hmm.
making his laugh like the Joker, doing stuff that would make him seem more like the Joker,
Right.
to where he was more insane. When he left, he was still the Joker
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
until that movie was done being made, and even a little bit of time after that, because that's the thing with method actors. When they're put in that role,
Mm-hmm.
they immerse themselves so much that it takes them time to snap back to reality and snap out of
Desensitize.
that.
Yes. Just like as you say that, two of my favorite method actors, Charlie Chaplin, because he would
Mm-hmm.
just make himself the bum, the hobo. And he was just, that was totally improv. He just grabbed the jacket, he just grabbed his outfit the last second during an interview for I think it
Mm-hmm.
was a movie thing. And then Jim Carrey. Jim
Oh
Carrey,
God, yes, Jim Carrey.
especially like during The Mask,
Oh God,
and
yes.
during those times he would really put himself as that character, just
Mm-hmm.
like Heath Ledger did. He would spend many hours doing so, just looking in the mirror, talking, his expressions, his mouth, his vocal, just the way he would look, his turns, just like with Johnny Depp too. Not too,
Yeah,
of
no,
course,
Johnny Depp is a method actor as well.
with the
He,
Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff.
oh
uh,
God, yes.
Amazing.
I love Johnny Depp in the Pirate of the Caribbean movies.
He was good. He was really good. I wish they would have pushed another one. It's again a series that could probably, I would watch it because they're good no matter what.
I actually think they're thinking about doing another one.
I think it's probably the amount of money they would have to pay out the actors. Though you got to figure Johnny Depp is not cheap. If you want him in
Hell
your,
no, he's not cheap.
he is, he is not.
He's one of the most well-known faces in Hollywood right now.
Yeah, yeah. He's
Between movies and the stuff with his ex-wife.
no. See that I feel bad for him in a sense.
I see. I've followed that
Mm-hmm.
for a very long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm all in his corner
Yeah, yeah. Me
because
too.
I've seen a lot of things that she has said, and a lot of things that she has said don't have the proof to back it up, or are time stamped to way after she said they happened.
Hmm.
But that's a conversation for another time.
What about Elastic Man? You ever heard of that one?
Who's the Elastic Man?
There you go. Shamu. You ever heard of Shamu?
No.
These are some of those supernatural things you don't hear of. You don't hear of these particular characters because you have the almighty Spider-Man on top. Then
Mm-hmm.
you have Superman, of course. Then you
Mm-hmm.
have Wolverine. Those are your top three.
Yeah.
You don't hear, some of the other characters. Well, Wolverine, of course, reminds me of like last hour we were talking about slasher films, or this part of the hour, and in regards to slashers, and they have the same kind of a. I don't know if I actually never counted how many blades I think he had five, and Wolverine has four. So I
Wolverine
think,
has 3.
well, he has three. Okay,
Yes.
so that
And I think
makes
Freddy has 5.
so to
Yeah.
go so this way they don't get hit with copyrights or infringement because they're like, hey, you have a character that has blades on his hand. They
We've already done that.
narrowed it down to three versus five.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but what's going to be the new
And
one though?
it's not a glove on his hand, it's coming out of his hand.
That was see, that's what freaked me the hell out more. Even so, he would just like swing, like with Wolverine, it just like
Like
swings it out,
out of
and
his hand, and like it showed
it's like
like the
titanium.
first time
Mm-hmm.
that happened and how much pain he was in.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt that.
Mm.
I felt that pain because that looked so painful.
But you
And
never see him use them though that much.
yeah, I mean,
He
it's
never
what he's
kills
most known
people
for.
with it. Yeah, I mean it's his image. He looks like a freaking wolf,
Yeah.
Wolverine. He looks like a wolver. Kind of has that sideburns and stuff like that. I get that, but he never really. If you notice, like none of the supernaturals really kill anybody. So why is it that like Superman, of course, he has burning eyesight and stuff like this. So why did they put that as a superpower if they never really use it? I mean, he used it a few times, to burn through a wall or whatever it was, or to burn through rope. But then Wolverine, I think maybe he did use his blades accidentally, and I think I remember seeing a part of a movie where he was in, and he felt really guilty of it or whatever like that. So he tried to break off his pieces of his
Hmm.
his his things, but I don't know his blades. But you never really see that. Spider-Man, of course, uses webbing to capture people, but if he was bit by a spider, a radioactive spider, how come he doesn't bite other people? How come he doesn't have the spider? How come he doesn't have more than two legs? Why is spider has
It's
eight?
just the webs and the sticky fingers.
Right. He's able to climb walls and stick to walls and stuff like that. But what makes them so good versus your traditional Joe? Yeah, they go out and save people just like police officers and fire departments and stuff like this today. But what really sets them, what's different between them, what makes them more supernatural than, say, you or I? Like if you were to save somebody, you become a hero. But
Hmm.
what's the big dramatic difference between them? And that's what Hollywood has to look at. Like, okay, what am I going to make my next supernatural character?
Yeah.
Is it how are they going to do this or do that? What is it going to be? Because they've already
Exactly.
played all the slashers. They've all played out. Yeah, you got all these knives and claws and skin faces and all this stuff. But what's the next gen of slasher movies? You know, that's the thing we have to look at. We have to figure that out. Like, okay,
I
how?
mean, at this point, I feel like, you know, anyone who knows me knows horror is my favorite genre.
Right.
When it comes to books, when it comes to movies, games,
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Right.
It's my favorite genre. I'm at the point, though, where I feel like I'm not going to be able to watch another good horror movie for the first time
Mm-hmm.
because it's all the same.
It's a
It's been
yawn.
the same it's been the same for years. And I've been looking forward to movies coming out
Mm-hmm.
just to be disappointed.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
last good movie I watched was the third installment in the Conjuring movies.
Mm.
That one had me on the edge of my seat. Had me hiding my face at points and times. That
That's
one that one was good.
so it got to you pretty good.
It really did.
Mm.
We need more movies like that.
We do. We absolutely do.
Stuff
But
that keeps you on the edge of your seat, stuff that captivates you and grabs you in
see,
and makes you want to keep watching,
that's the
not
thing.
makes you want to fall asleep.
What is that? What what is the next step? What is the next gen, if you will, of horror films?
Mm-hmm.
They've covered all bases already, but you know, as others have pointed, maybe mentally, like you're going into the mindset of this person who's the serial killer. Maybe that's the way he does it, or maybe, and I know how Gen Y and Gen X and Gen Ys and Gen Zs and millennials are all computer based. What if this person's connected to a computer? Or what if it's a computer? But of course, we've seen those in the past, Terminator, etc., etc. But what if it's more connected into the internet? Or what if it's something like that? It's robotic, but not. Or see, I don't know. I can't say. I'm not in the
Something
genre
like
of.
that, but not like Chain Litter.
Right, right.
That movie, I'm sorry, that was just a flop.
I was gonna get that for you for Christmas.
Oh God.
I was gonna get you
No.
some clown shoes and
No.
chain
I'll
letters.
send I'll get a little vial and fill it up with red ants
Oh hell,
and send it to you.
they won't survive up here for long because I'll either kill them or set them out in the wintertime. They won't survive. But I don't know. What about like a supernatural, like the newer like superhero type? What do you think is going to be on that one? What do you think like a new one should go with that? We talk about serial killers and stuff. I
I
mean,
mean,
it's questionable in Hollywood. Are they going to rehash the same stuff over and over because they can make beaucoup of money? I'm going to make it this again, but
I'm
now
gonna
20.
make this again and just change the title
Right. Yeah, I'm going to make it the
and
same kind of genre.
update little key
Right.
part.
Exactly. Like I'm going to put them behind in front of a green screen, and I'm going to make them more realistic blades and stuff and special CGs and stuff like this, and then cuz there's millions and millions of dollars you can make these producers and stuff for very little time behind the eye of the camera, really.
I mean, okay, this might sound stupid as hell,
Mm-hmm.
but the way I see it, we need more hero movies, kind of like Kick Ass.
Yeah, yeah,
Kick Ass was funny, but I want to see more of humans being good humans.
right. Humanity
Not
will always rule.
not, a bunch of superheroes that are not of this planet and they have all these powers or they were bit by a spider. I want to see humans being good to humans and doing what they can to make the world a better place.
More down to earth humanity versus supernatural,
Exactly.
artificial. Because I think that's what we need. I mean, we kind of prove that as
Especially after 2020
exactly, exactly.
because 2019 the first half was okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
After about this time or May
mm-hmm.
2019 up until now, whole world has gone to hell.
It
And we need to do something. And I want to see that turn into a movie.
that'd be interesting. Like the heroes, the real heroes versus
And
the genetic.
I'm not talking just, cops, firefighters, paramedics,
Right,
nurses, doctors. I'm
right.
talking everyday people.
Citizens. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. And there's a boatload of those. I mean, even after a natural disaster, I mean, there's a tropical storm depression, something that's down there in the Gulf Coast, or further north inland
The
now,
Atlantic.
the Atlantic, and you would hope and assume that there's going to be natural heroes, just like with weather
Mhm.
spotters. General rule of thumb of a weather spotter, of course, is to get the data, the information about the storm, relay that to the dispatch 911,
Yeah.
and help those who are in need. But when it comes to, if a house gets destroyed during the path of a tornado and they are right there, they will stop the chase to physically go into that house to check on people. So something like that would be really neat, like a little natural story of realism. That's what it is. It's more like realism in a sense.
See, like this, like something that's a little bit personal for me that I'd like to see turned into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, okay, my mom, my dad, my two older sisters that are twins, my aunt, my uncles, they all got together and they formed kind of something small, and it was called the Central Florida Disaster Team. What they would do is after any kind of natural disaster, whether it be fire, tornado, hurricane, they would go out and they would help with the cleanup, they would help with resources, they would go and my parents used to be weather chasers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I all my life I remember my mom and my dad tracking storms, and
Interesting.
they used to go out and chase tornadoes, hurricanes,
Mm-hmm.
fires, all that stuff. That's the kind of heroes that we need.
Amen. That's exactly what
To
I'm.
kind of go out and do something important,
Yeah.
not fight made up supervillains.
I mean, even some of those villains were just cheesy. Some
A
of the
little
ones,
too far fetched.
other ones, like they get thrown in jail. Like, say they did a crime, and then like next thing you know, they're out of jail again. Like, hey man, I mean, if I did
Yeah,
that kind of crime, I'd be freaking down the river for like years.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if they're gonna make a movie like that, I know they have to, because time is really a non-existent thing in in movies, but also in games too, where
Hmm.
the reality time is, you blink, oh, it's 10 years,
Yeah,
but that's just
exactly.
how it is. But you never really see them serve their time. If they wanted to make a movie like that, they could, like, say, the villain gets thrown in jail. Let's make a little
Mhm.
backstory with that person while they're in the jail, while they're trying to
Yeah.
break out of the jail and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like the whole mass amount of the movie itself, but
Hmm.
just a part of just the storyline, just to give it a little twist.
To
That
give it
way.
some years so it's not, I just
Right.
went to jail, I'm gonna break out 3 days later.
Right. Give it a little bit of, some.
Make it more realistic.
Right. And that's what they need to do. These, I mean, if this movie coming out in 2021 later this year, if it's going to be the same as 2018's version, I'm not going to see it.
Either.
I mean,
I'm tired of the same things in
right.
movies.
It's getting to the point where it's monotonous. It's like
Exactly.
you can see the same thing. You could see, again, you could see the heroes of the story. Then you
Hmm.
have the villain. Then you have the victims of the story. Then you have the rest of the people who survived the villain, and they go to fight another day, or they go and, it's just, they Hollywood needs to take that next step. Just like 720 went to 1080, now 1080 is going to 4K. They need that. Whoop, what's going to be the new juicy, exciting game slash movie slash whatever that is going to make, or the new John, like, ooh, this is new. I've never seen this. This is great. I
What
can't wait for
what is it
this.
that's gonna grab the attention
Yeah,
and
because
hold it?
as humans, we have attention spans longer than fish, but they have 7 seconds of brain thought, and then they disappear. But you gotta entice me with a nice new a new style of horror. I like you. I like horror stuff. I like doing haunted stuff. I like doing stuff like that in October, etc., etc. Need to what's the next step? What's
They
going to
need
be?
to they need to step up their game for sure.
Is it going to be a guy with syringes? Is it going to be a guy with arrows? I mean, is it going to be a lady that grabs a hose and I mean, it's just anything that something different than what we have currently. Maybe it's going to be a mental person, a person who can mentally disable villains or something like that, or is a killer but uses his mind to kill you.
Kind of like Magneto.
Yeah, like Magneto. See, now that would be kind of a good little throw
Twist.
Magneto back into it because he doesn't have much.
No, he doesn't.
Again, Superman and Batman and
Yeah.
he has the
Yeah.
life of Green Lantern and Aquaman, which is sad, which is really
Yeah.
sad.
But, that's just one of those things that all we can do is watch, wait, and hope for the
And
best.
hope, yes, that's all we can do. Let's take a break. After this,
Alrighty.
we'll discuss some interesting things after the break.
Mhm.
We'll discuss some things that are pretty much
Well known.
a well-known and big part of what's going on now inside the digital websites, the streaming websites, about this and that. So we'll talk about that when we get back. Let's go for the break. Okay, we are back. Now let's talk about something that is like hot off the presses and people are just constantly talking about DMCA. You know what DMCA stands for, right?
Yes. DMCA stands for Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
Right. So basically, it's a thing now where if you are a musician, and of course you are entitled to, but a lot of people don't know, there's a thing called DMCA, which allows them to mute your audio, said audio, from a perspective like, say, if I'm streaming and I'm using a well-known musician's music without their permission or the licensing allowed for me to use that, they can then enforce the act, which then says, hey, look, either two things. Either you stop doing that stuff, we're going to mute your portion of your audio that has the music, or we'll fine your ass. That's the things. But with the DMCA strikes now, they're really coming down hard on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've read and what I see all the time, I always see people who took down videos that even had sound bites, as far as just a tiny 3 to 5 second sound clip
Mm-hmm.
of something that would relate to like a Yahoo or something like Down with the Sickness or whatever. And immediately
Yep.
they were getting DMCA'd. Now, knock on wood, I've yet to have such a said thing. I'm compliant, but I do play a lot of music in my channel. And it kind of makes me scared, Bunny, that some of the music we play, I play music that is found.
DMCA free.
It's Twitch's very own soundtrack. So in other words, Twitch says, hey, look, we'll come up with music that is freely to use, that is copyright free, that allows you to use this music and not worry about DMCA. But I've read on various different websites people bitching and complaining that they have gotten strikes because of by using the said Twitch soundtrack. So I mean, it's like, are they lying? Are they telling the truth? Because a lot of people, they're cracking down on YouTube users, and but Twitch in particular. And I'm sure you have seen it, right?
Oh yeah. I've had bits and pieces of my audio muted,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially like before I started using Twitch soundtrack. I was trying to use, DMCA free music
Right.
that I got from other streamers,
Right. Right.
And I've had bits and pieces, especially like during my intro, I would have music playing in the background. And I've had my whole intro muted once. After that, I was like, all right, no more music. Not going to do it. I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to be banned for this.
And it's
I'd rather just talk and not have music playing than get in trouble.
and it's pretty scary because you don't know when it's going to occur. There's no warning. It's kind of like lightning striking. You could sit here and play Bunny's Music Hour, brought to you by this particular radio station, music, whatever it is. And even though it says it's copyright free, but in reality it is not.
Yeah.
See, I've had that too, where I've played like you. There's Spotify. I would play some of the tracks from the so-called no or copyright free music, but then at the same time, when I would go back to listen or watch my VODs, my videos on demand on Twitch, it would say this portion has been muted or blah blah blah.
Due to copyright issues.
Yeah, and and here's one thing too. It doesn't make sense to me. Not all websites are the same. I could sit here, like the music I play, like you play. We both play the Twitch soundtrack. This music is copyright free to play on Twitch.
Yes.
It has the stamp of approval of Twitch. However, Bunny, if you were to say, look, I'm going to go and put this video onto my YouTube channel right now, today, with this music, guess what's going to happen?
Smack.
You're going to get smacked.
You can't do that.
Exactly. You're going to get
I've
smacked.
had that happen with every video I've put on YouTube. I have had to clip out the countdown.
Oh, yeah.
Out of my video and part of my intros because of the Twitch soundtrack music.
It's weird how that works. It's not equal on all parts.
I wish it was.
It's like,
because it would make multiple platforms, like sharing my Twitch streams to YouTube would be so much easier if I could find music that was not copyrighted across all the platforms.
So why is it, there's the question of the day, why is it if I could play this music here, but then if I turn around and took it to said another track to another website, why in the hell would it be copyrighted to DMCA potential? Why is that? Why isn't it the same? If it's like, say, is it because of licensing? Does Twitch have a license that says, okay, I pay X amount a month to these artists that play this music, and a group of artists or multiple things of genres. There's there's all kinds of genres on the soundtracks, but they pay the artist a fee for the licensing for the month or for the year to say, okay, I could use this music. And or are they going to but I can't do that over at YouTube because they didn't pay for that license. That's the weirdest thing, you know?
That's a good question, though.
Don't understand that, you know?
I mean, another thing, like, since we're on the topic of DMCA.
Right.
What about, like, video game soundtracks?
See, that is a thing that I've always, like Fallout 4. Fallout 4 has a bunch of copyright red flag Maydays. It has music from the 30s, from the 40s. It has all these genres of music, beautiful pieces of music. The ink spots. It has Billie Holiday in it. All these beautiful artists from back in the day, but you can't throw those videos, or I can't even play them on the air here. Yeah. When I'm playing these games, I have the music off. I used to put on the radio stations all the time. I used to put on, on Fallout, they have multiple radio stations. So you'd be able to listen to Billie Holiday. I mean, they even have what are they called? They have the Beach Boys in one of the songs. It's like, but you can't play the music. You have to mute the music, or you have to have it in general. So soundtrack music now is a pain in the butt, unless it's music that's written in the game itself, but somehow the algorithm that they use to say, okay, this is copyright versus not. I mean, how are they going to distinguish it? Like, if I write if you wrote a video game, you came to Cactus and say, hey, Cacti, I'd be like, yeah, what's up? Could you make some songs for my video game? I'd be like, absolutely, for a cost of $10,000 per track. And but I would have, obviously I would be the one who wrote the music, but then do I go and then say, okay, these are under BMI contracts, these are copyrighted tracks now, but people at home won't be able to enjoy the game
Yeah,
because, I mean, who distinguishes that? Who decides that this, is it the publishers? It might be the record labels.
I
It,
don't know.
I think
But
it.
like there's so many games, and I know a prime game for me
Mhm.
that I've played that scared me to leave the music on was Left 4 Dead. Okay. Those music cues, you need those.
Mm.
When a horde is coming, when there's a tank.
Mhm.
I personally have been yeeted off a building because of a tank because of, music.
Right, right,
See, there's games that you have to have the music in
right,
order to play it.
right. Absolutely. They're cues. There's sound cues in lots of games. Like I think Resident Evil had some of that stuff too.
Oh yeah.
But then it's like, okay, if I'm playing this game, do I have to worry about me getting copyrighted? Do I have to worry about getting a DMCA strike? That's pretty objectionable, because if you're playing a game, there's a lot of big streamers too that say, look, I can't play this game because this game has music, or they'll freak out when they hear the music, just like I do when I used to play
Yeah.
some. I'd be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I try to cover the
Yeah, you try
robot
and go an octave higher so that way it's covered
so
and you're
that
not
mhm.
worried about, hey, the Twitch gods are watching.
It would be like, for yeah. It's like, okay, so the algorithm they use, is it like a little robot voice, like I imagine that is like a robotic ear, like it looks like a human ear, but it's like metallic, and it
Yeah.
like listening. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
doing this shit now. It's like, okay, go ahead, play that music. So it's kind of listening to
Play
your
that music, I dare you.
I dare you. It's listening to the channel itself. When you're everything we're saying right now is being recorded by this, or it's listening.
Hmm.
I mean, that kind of freaks me out in a sense,
A
but
little bit.
it's, that kind of touches base about the AI stuff. Like, we're too
Yeah,
digital.
Big Brother is always watching,
We're always
listening.
watching. And the DMCA apparently is that
Hmm.
too. I mean, if, like you said and I've said, like I could see if I was jamming out to Metallica, if I was jamming
Yeah.
out to Queen, if I was jamming out to Beach Boys or Billy Joel or Elton John, I can understand that. They have rights because they're so well known,
Huge.
like huge, well known. But at the same time, they have so many contracts with these labels. These artists are under contracts
Hmm.
with the record labels, that the record labels say, okay, look, you produce this or you make this, we will protect you by getting your royalties, so that they write it in their contracts. And that's usually, like, that's how it's usually done, is through the record
Hmm.
labels, because they're the ones that are in control. If you ever saw that movie, the Freddie Mercury, the Queen movie, how they were signing into contracts, just like with the Beatles too. They signed a contract that deals with, the label basically has you by the foo-foos, the hoo-hoos. They have you by the grip down below.
Yeah.
You are in
I mean,
mercy of them.
and I get that with the big names and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like, God, if someone was to try and play Guitar Hero, you'd be
Oh,
done
no.
immediately. There would be no second chance. You'd be done
I've
immediately.
seen people do that. I mean,
And I
before.
I get that. But like if you're playing a game Like, I don't know, what's a good one with some good musical stuff in it?
Hmm. And you mean like music that's copyright?
Yeah.
Oh, Fallout 4.
Well, yeah, the Fallout games, like
The Fallouts in general have just,
3, New Vegas.
yeah, yeah, there you go. I mean, it's got the voice of Vegas himself, you know?
Yes. He, I I feel like if it's in the game, it shouldn't. I mean,
It
I
shouldn't
get that
matter.
it's a big name, but
Right.
it was made, it was written into the game for a reason. And I feel like it shouldn't be penalized
Right.
for choosing a game that you want to play and that you love to play
Right.
and having the entire experience and not just, the voice
Hmm.
of the characters and the NPCs and stuff.
Yeah, you shouldn't be limited. You shouldn't
You
say,
should
oh,
be
look,
able
I
to
have to
get that
turn
whole experience.
right. And when they make those games, I mean, come on, Bethesda, you know those, and I've totally destroyed the way I pronounce that because I always do. But you know, the Fallout series makers, they had to get the licensing for those games, or a DMCA would hit them hard because
Exactly.
they're a well-known developer company that
Hmm.
makes games. So as sure as shit, you know they're gonna dot their I's and cross their T's and say, "Look, I'm gonna get the license for all this stuff." So then, why doesn't that fall onto us as consumers? Because if you read, when you play some of these games, it says, you have I agree to this and that and everything. So you're
You
giving them
agree to
consent.
the terms and conditions.
Right. So aren't those terms and conditions part of the Fair Trade Act? Aren't they part of that? Because I bought the game. You guys bought the licensing from the makers of the music of the game. So why does it fall upon my head that if I play said music that's in your said game, why am I penalized? Why am I the one that's going to get in trouble for it, but you wouldn't be able to? Is it because I'm a petty little person that, streams, or run a digital place that doesn't really have much control of it? I mean, isn't does
I
that
mean,
kind of
like, I feel like taking the music out of some of these games kind of like gyps the viewers,
right,
especially if they've never played it. Like, if I was playing Fallout New Vegas for the
right?
first time, or not even the first time, if I was playing it and someone was watching the game who has never played the game, never seen any gameplay on it, I feel like taking that away is like taking half of the fun
Yeah,
for a viewer.
yeah. Oh, it is. You're taking the the fun of it. You are taking the fun of the game.
You're taking out half of what the game was meant to be.
You're taking part of the meat off the bone that you shouldn't have to. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, what is Fair Act versus the Millennial Copyright Act? What's the difference? Where's that boundary that says, okay, this should be part of it because you bought the game. You should be able to freely play the game as it is.
Exactly.
I
I
don't
feel
understand that.
I feel like there's a very thin line to walk when it comes to DMCA.
Oh hell, there is. Oh yeah,
And
there's.
if you even barely put a toe
Hmm.
over that,
Yeah.
you're gonna get screwed.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think it's fair.
I certainly don't think it's fair at all. They should be able to. You should be able to. I again, I get it. I get that they make the money. It's just like with anything. You don't work for free. You shouldn't work for free. Yeah, you should get
Exactly.
some kind of compensation, be it monetary, food, shelter, whatever it is. Okay. In this world of society, especially with music writing, it doesn't. It's not that difficult to write. I write music. I have some contracts, BMI contracts with some of my music. It protects me from copyrights. I get that. But then again, it's like, okay, well, there's comes to the point where if like a radio station plays my music that radio station has to license the music from BMI or from me or for whatever it is. I think it would be BMI. BMI would say, okay, look, you owe Cactus this amount of money to play his songs for either the week, the month, I think it's month or 6 month or a year. That in that time frame they could play my music and I would get a royalty for it. Just like with like Fallout, they have already paid for the fees for it or upfront costs of the licensing, so they don't have to worry about it. But why does it fall on my head or your head or any other consumer's head that we suffer from that we have to say, okay, look, we have to now get hit with a DMCA, and what is Twitch doing about it? Or what is YouTube doing about it?
And where is it going to go in the future?
Right, exactly. Like, okay, is it going to come to the point where they're going to just give up on it? Or are they going to say, hey, look, this is we're a company that's been here for 10 years. We do this and do that and everything. We want to abide by the laws. We want to give you the licensing for this. Don't come down on our heads and sit there and say, oh, look, I have to copyright strike this person or this team or this community and stuff like this. They shouldn't have to. It should be covered. Yeah. And did they cover that for the soundtrack of Twitch? That's the thing, is it already covers. But again, like I've said, I've seen people who have said on various websites that they have gotten strikes even though they're using the soundtrack of Twitch. Which I don't know. I don't know if I believe it or not. Because knock on wood, I've played 8 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours of music from these soundtracks, and I've yet to, is it people complaining? Is it, like, oh, he's playing, Fiona Apple, and he shouldn't be doing it. So they make a clip and then they send it up to Twitch. Mm-hmm. I mean, where does it go? Where's it go from there? Like, what are these people? Where's the drawing point? Where are we going to go from this?
It's one of those things that I feel the higher ups really need to sit down and talk about.
I agree.
And figure out if, the only way you can play music is if it's your own music.
Right.
Or someone that you talk to creating that music, and they actually physically give you permission in your chat. Like the videos that you've played, you've gotten permission from the people that made them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
In your chat. I feel like that's about what it's going to come down to eventually.
And it's
not being able to play music at all unless it's your own music.
And that's going to be a negative, and that's going to be hard for people who are not musicians. For me, I could totally do it. I could write my own. Yeah. I have a plethora of music that I've written that I could sit here for hours and play. If I'm streaming, I could play 4 to 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours plus of music that's written by me. But then what about, like, say, Joe, or you, Joe Schmo, or you?
I don't have any way of writing music at the moment.
I
don't have an instrument. I don't have anything. I don't have a keyboard. I don't have a guitar. I don't have that stuff.
Right. So then it makes you as a disadvantage. And you think about how many musicians there are who are streamers versus who are not musicians. I think the ratio of non-musicians is quite higher than it is for musicians, streamers. So then you look at it like that. That's a disadvantage. So am I going to lose 70% of my viewers and my users for DMCAs versus the 30% who can actually make their own music? I think I would go for the higher. I think I would go for I would want the targeted audience up here more. I mean, these guys they can protect themselves. They can write their own music, but these people are going to search for the musicians of Twitch or YouTube, or a third party, and they're going to say, hey, look, can you write me some music? Can you write me an intro, an outro? Could you write this for me? And, those people, just like with like people making memes and emotes and stuff for people's chats and stuff. That's great. That's awesome. They can do it, but there's a price to it. Now, is it going to be a premium price as more and more DMCA strikes hit? Can I sit there and say, okay, I'll write you some songs but it's going to cost you. It's going to
Yeah.
cost you, and then I'll like mentally figure in my head how much it's going to cost and
Exactly.
then give you an output. Or am I going to say a flat rate, or am I going to charge you just the way I feel? Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'll charge you $30 for that song versus, I would charge you $20 for it.
Yeah.
So you got the cacti discount because I know
Yeah.
you versus
Mm-hmm.
Joe Schmo would be like, okay, well, I'm going to charge him or her $30. I
Or
mean, or
twice
twice
as
as
much.
much. Yeah, $40. Hell, there's the sky's the limit. Why not? Why stop it myself at that?
Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing is if you go to these websites that, like, if I, for example, if I wanted to sell my music right now, I went to a CD Baby or I went to a place, I could upload my music. I could upload it, but it's only like say if you wanted my music, you would have to pay would be like the licensing pretty much of it because
Mm-hmm.
you pay up front and then the soundtrack is yours. So
Yep.
it's basically like going to the store if it's even existent anymore. Are people even buying CDs anymore or anything? You could go to the store, FYE or whatever it is, buy the music track of your favorite artist
Mm-hmm.
and bring it home. So you initially paid for the licensing, plus you paid for the CD itself and the uploaded amount of up costs that they charge for it, and then turn around and bring it home. So I would charge you like they would charge at CD Baby like $1, which per track, which is horrific in a sense. So it's like, okay, I feel really shitty because I could manually sell my music for somebody for like 25 times higher
Mm-hmm.
than said if I went to a known company up on the digital markets and for $1. So basically it's you start low and you gain high. That's how it
Yep.
always is. 99 cents hamburgers. People will flood in there, but if you sell that for $1.99, not as many people are going to buy it because they're like, "Oh, 99 cents, it's a hell of a deal." The dollar menu
Mm.
versus a combo meal that's $7-8 where I can make my own combos. So it's really weird. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, where is that tipping point? Where are we going to go with this? There's got to be somewhere in the middle we could say to these artists or these record label deals, these hierarchies of gods of music that, hey, look, okay, I understand. I got to pay this and that and everything, but I mean, why does it fall on us as the consumers? That's my boiling point, if you will.
I
You
mean,
know.
especially if you get a game, that's more expensive, like 20 to $60.
Mm-hmm.
You've paid for that game.
Oh, you
You've
really?
paid money for
Oh
that
yeah.
game.
Oh yeah.
You shouldn't be penalized because you paid for the game. You paid for everything in the game.
Right. Exactly. I paid for that. I paid the premium. I paid for the licensing of that said game. I bought it from the makers. They got their cut of the money. Because I
Mhm.
mean, seriously, if you print out a CD that has, or they're actually DVDs, if you think about it,
Yep.
the video games, the games themselves are actual DVDs because they hold so much more content. I mean, if you think about it, that game is like 70 gigs and a movie is like your traditional 150 gigs or whatever it is. So you
Mhm.
figure it's like a DVD, but you paid for that. You've bought the licensing for it. You bought that. You bought it. So why am I so penalized for? Why would I get hit with something? I mean,
That's like if you were to buy a DVD, come
Mhm.
home, pop it in, and your neighbors hear you're watching a movie and they hear music from the movie and they call the cops and they're like, "Hey, they're listening to this song. Go do something about it."
Right. And it's like, well, crap. Like
It's like, can I not enjoy something that I paid for
it
to the full extent?
I agree. And it feels like you wouldn't get the full extent of it if you have to limit yourself.
Exactly.
You're limiting yourself. You're limiting your enjoyment of the game or the music itself in the game. Because there's a lot of games, if you notice, I don't really stream excuse me, the soundtracks to it. Now I'm kind of scared too with like up and coming GTA 5 segments when I start playing those in the future.
Yes.
There's some music in there. They have a radio, but
Yeah.
the game has been downloaded. It was purchased. So again,
Yep.
I should be able to fully enjoy the game without worrying about a damn DMCA strike.
Yep.
Now, I mean, I could see that the rebuttal would probably be, well, then don't stream it. Well, how, as consumers at home, viewers like you, how are they going to enjoy the content? What if they don't have the game, but they're on the fence, like, should I buy this? The influencing part comes out of me and says, you would like this if I could play the full music and everything for you, but I can't,
I mean,
unfortunately.
as streamers, technically, every game we play, we
Mhm.
are influencers for,
Exactly.
because we're giving our opinion on the game
Hmm.
and how we like it.
Right.
Two, we're using our platform to get more sales for the game.
Yes.
We're influencing others to spend their hard-earned money
Mhm.
on a game that I don't think it's fair to have to cut music out of.
Yeah, I agree. Because how
Because like I'm not trying to step on any toes here, but